Hey everybody, what's up? Don Carr here, and today I'm with Justin from Two Notes.
What's up, Don?
Justin, so good to have you here, man.
Glad to be here.
Always good to see you. Today we're going to talk about the Reload 2, which is a fabulous piece. Please, enlighten me.
Well, thank you. The Reload 2 is, as it probably makes sense, is a product that was built off the initial framework of a product we built about 10, 11 years ago called the Reload.
Okay.
And the Reload at the time was the first attenuator that had continuous control. So basically it was an active design. Most people are familiar with passive attenuation, where you're basically turning the amplifier down with an external box. So you're taking the amp at a certain wattage or power, say 100 watts, and you're using it and stepping it down. What this does is the exact opposite. It actually takes the signal, takes it down to line level, and then re-amplifies it with amplifiers. The original Reload was just one amplifier. This one is two amplifiers. In fact, not only two amplifiers, two 215 watt power amplifiers.
Whoa, 215 watts per side.
Correct, at 4 ohms.
Wow, that's astounding, because that means you can scale down any amp or scale up any amp.
Absolutely. So,
Really
for
cool.
instance, we have a 50 watt Marshall here, and we're running it at basically bedroom volumes, right? But we could take any type of Fender amp or low wattage amp, and we could put it next to the big monstrous 412 stack out there, and it could eat its lunch, so to speak. So
Yeah, exactly. Stage ready. Right?
Exactly. Most people are going to use it to be quieter,
Right.
But if you want to get thunderously loud, you can do that.
Yeah, and the interesting part about that too is that it is completely linear at that point.
Yes.
The volume control.
Correct.
It's not like when you turn up your amp, it's like, oh, it gets a little louder here, and now it just starts compressing. This is linear all the way up.
Exactly.
Louder.
So from 0 all the way up to 10, it's completely linear throughout the process.
Yeah.
So basically that means the tone doesn't change. You're just getting incremental volume over that sweep. So it's not like negative 10 dB, now negative 20, and you get this massive jump in volume.
Right.
So basically you're able to find that sweet spot wherever it may be without any hassle.
Man, that's so cool. And I can just tell you from my little experience with it already, it feels and sounds fantastic. It really does. I mean, it just, you capture all the nuance of the amp and all the nuance of the feel of the amp, and it's just coming back at you. It's great, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you picked that up right away. And I know feel can be somewhat of an overused word,
Yeah.
but I think feel is a perfect descriptor for this. We went through and completely designed our load structure from the ground up on this. I will very clearly and confidently say that this is the best load design on the market. And the word I want to use is transparent. So really what you're giving the amplifier, the load box is giving that back. It's not muffling it, it's not compressing it, it's giving you that clean signal. So it's basically the amplifier to your speakers or to your DAW or front of house, whatever, it's that sound. So when you roll the volume back, all those dynamics, all the things that we miss about guitar amplifiers, that interaction between the amp as an instrument and the guitar as an instrument, all those variables come back into play. So, we have a cranked up plexi here, and you'll see in a minute that we can get it crystal clean, or, furious.
Yeah.
Just by using the volume knob.
Right, at any volume level you want.
Exactly.
That's really the key. I mean, there's been a lot of pieces that do that, but they don't do it this effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the really interesting things to me is that, like, between the amplifier and the speaker, it's like really a two-way street. And a lot of people don't completely understand that. I mean, the impedance load on the amp from the speaker, etc., back and forth, that's active. It's constantly in motion. And this does a great job of that.
Yeah, and you knocked it out of the park there. Most people assume that the amplifier talking to a speaker is one direction. In fact, as you just stated, it's bidirectional. When you design a load, and this load design we spent years on, and it's a very expensive design, but it's to make sure that those little subtle nuances are transferring back and forth,
Right.
which leads to what we'll call the transparency effect. We want to make sure what we're giving it is what we're getting back.
Yeah, and the fact that it's impedance selectable is great, because then you only have to have one.
Yeah, and just to touch on this, the impedances actually change how the amplifier is responding and reacting to speaker cabinets. So be it 4.8 or 16 ohm, we made sure that the impedance deal was matching up properly. So you're going to get optimal results at any of those. So it's not really designed at 8 or 16. It's universal at all those different impedance settings.
Man, that is so cool because, I mean, of course you're going to have multiple amp heads at multiple impedances. So, I mean, it's essential, frankly, in my opinion, or you're going to have more than one of them.
Yeah, and believe it or not, this is the first Celestion approved load design out there. And Celestion
really?
and their engineering team were very particular about what met their standards. So we're very proud to have partnered with them on this, but basically it feels like you want it to.
Boy, it sure does, and it sounds freaking great, man. I like the Mojo switch. That's nice, man. That's nice.
So Mojo is our clever term for how do I get this to sound even better at low volume playing. And it's pretty subtle, but what it does is it gives you kind of this big sound at lower volume, so it kind of boosts a little of the lows and a little of the top and dips the mid softly. It's a great, I don't want to say a bedroom feature, but a low volume feature. And again, it's somewhat subtle, but it's noticeable, and we have it engaged today. So
yeah. Well, it's like on the old stereos, a loudness button, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you think of it like a loudness button, take that concept and make it just tame down just a little bit. But that's a perfect comparison.
Yeah. And then of course, as you turn it up, you can turn that off and decide where your spot is. Again, depth and presence too, man. That's pretty amazing.
Again, this is re-amplifying. We wanted to make sure that we gave some post controls in there. Mm-hmm. So with the depth control, you're able to tighten the excursion of the cabinet, so it'll allow you to tighten up the cabinet or add more low end. So say you had something like a vintage Marshall and you want more modern beef to it, turn the depth up a little bit. Or say you have two different cabinets and they're a little disparate, you're able to tune the cabinets more, in tune with each other. And then when we added a presence control as well for the top, the upper range.
Giant white knob for the volume. That's pretty handy, man, on stage, right?
That was a paramount feature for me, being a little older now, is I wanted something that was easy to see, so I fought for the white knob. So it's very clear that those are your master knobs to your cabinets.
Right.
But the big knobs, turn it up, turn it down.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We actually had a little moment with this switch, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so this is, conceptually, it's a stereo unit, but it's really two sides. So you have side A and side B. Each one has an amp and line selector switch. So since I'm using this amp in stereo, I have these set to amplifier. If you're using a modeler, whatever one out there, you're using preamps, you can just set that to line level. So if you wanted to get crazy, you could use an amplifier on one side and you could use a preamp on the other. Or you could use a bass on one side or a guitar on the other. So yeah, we wanted to make sure that this was agnostic to technology. So it's not just an amplifier piece. And I'll tell you what, it sounds exceptional with modelers when you use the line inputs.
Okay, so explain the rig you've got going here.
So for today's demonstration purposes, I have a 79 50-watt JMP, which is the predecessor. Basically, it's a JCM 800. I've got the volume all the way up, and I'm running the preamp at about 6. I'm using just a little bit of depth and presence from that. I have a little bit of stereo delay coming from the EVH SDE 3000, and we're basically mirroring that, but using just a smidge of ping pong delay. And by the way, I'd be remiss without saying this. This is the first stereo load box out there.
Yeah, that's the other thing. With a stereo effects loop, right?
Correct.
Yeah, even better, man, even better. So your delays are post.
Correct.
Yeah, which is, man, that is fantastic.
So with the effects loop, we wanted to leave no stone unturned. Everybody has a different use case for what they want to do. Some people just like to plug effects in, like a regular guitar loop, and then you're good to go. What we did is it accepts both line level and professional level. So if you have an old Lexicon or Eventide or any professional grade studio equipment, those are actually selectable for each side. We also allow a series or parallel method, and that parallel method is what you were just mentioning. It allows you to take that wet signal and blend it back to the pure guitar signal, so that way you're not adding any extra coloring or conversion, and it keeps it very, very clean. And then we have stereo returns or dual returns and dual sends, and it's foot switchable.
And it's foot switchable. Man, so overall, this is either dual mono, stereo, or bridged, right?
It doesn't bridge, and I'll explain why it doesn't bridge. because of the power there, if we bridged that, you'd be at over 400 watts, and people would blow up their guitar cabinets. So we wanted to purposely to keep the sides segregated, just for a fail-proof feature.
Right. Well,
but you don't have to have anything plugged into the other side. And something else too is those are two very ultra-linear Class D amplifiers. People get kind of concerned going, well, is it going to change the tone of my amp? You've been playing through it. It literally just takes your amplifier and gives you exactly back what you put into it. So it is that amp sound. It feels the same. It responds the same. You're just able to control it at any volume now.
Yeah, man, it is so good. It is so good. We need to hear this thing. Let's go through the rig here again really quick. So you've got the Marshall going into the reload, and then in the effects loop, you've got the SDE 3000, right?
Correct.
So, and we're hearing it through two Victory cabs, right? And we're like, man, we are at not whisper volume, but boy, this is a conversational volume that we're playing at here. And I want to hear the dry sound. I want to hear the dynamics. That's really the key, man. When you were turning the guitar up and down, it's like, wow, what a great sound, man.
Yeah, and thanks for that. I think that people will understand it as soon as they feel it.
That's incredible, man. I mean, really, that that defies what you're hearing. You know what I mean? Because it's like we're here in this room at this low volume, and I mean, it feels like a big, powerful amplifier doing its thing.
Well, it really shows that amplifiers, especially good tube amplifiers, have a lot of dynamic range to them. So people assume that a Marshall is either just super saturated, can't get clean, or it can't get saturated enough. Just by driving the output section the way we're doing it, we're able to get that full response. And again, it also ties back into that load design to be able to replicate that as transparently as possible.
Yeah, yeah. And then, you know, and it's great because you can use these as monitors, or like what we're doing here, you can mic them.
Yep, correct.
Which is great.
We have a few different use cases, and we came out with a software platform last year called Genome that works on any digital audio workstation, and it works as a standalone. We include it with all our hardware products. We have a special version for Reload that includes 24 specialized cabinets. So if you're using this as an audio engineer, or if you record in the studio or at home, you just take this box, you go into your interface, you open up Genome, load your cabinets, and you're there.
Yeah, that's the nice part. You can do this without cabinets.
Absolutely.
Completely.
Absolutely.
Cabinets are not essential to this equation, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, so for somebody recording at home that wants the best load, design out there and has a bunch of amplifiers, they really want to maximize that, you use it as a standalone, nothing else needed.
Man, so cool, so cool. Okay, by contrast, my rig, completely simple, right? So it's mono. I've got one speaker cab. I've got this Fender Deluxe that I mounted into a head shell, and I'm using a Keeley Noble Screamer and a Wampler Metaverse, just going straight into the front end. I mean, just really simple. The interesting thing though is, for me, the cabinet is just a monitor. Mm-hmm. That's there's no mics on the cab, so I'm using the Opus. And you set that up. Now, how did you set that up?
Yeah, so we're just going out. We have two direct output knobs. They're the smaller output controls.
Yeah, okay.
What we're doing is we're just taking that pure amp signal, and we're going into the Opus, or you could use any other IR loader.
Right.
And we're just using the mics and cabs. And we're using the same type of cab that you're using, and our 57 and Royer 121 out of the Opus.
So the sound in the room that I'm hearing is the cabinet, and this sound that you're going to hear on the video is the Opus, but it's basically the same sound, which is pretty cool, man. So, you can have that reference, like if you have that on stage and you need it coming back at you, a certain sound, but it's not mic'd, you can use the Opus and get your sound out front.
There's nothing more terrifying than using a modeler when you don't have a consistent front of house engineer.
Yeah.
And either you have no sound in your monitors or in-ears, or nothing through front of the house. So it's always great to have, your sound there when you need it. Again, You're just going out of the output, and we're feeding that signal into the Opus, and the Opus is just there for the cabs and mics.
Yeah.
And we're just basically replicating, the same type of mic setup we have here and just going direct.
Yeah, and with the Fender, okay, so this is an 8 ohm load, so it's a different load, and it still responds and feels great. I mean, it really feels just like the amp. It's like what I'm used to. It's incredible, man. And again, at conversation volume.
Yeah, it's like a cranked up Fender, and we could communicate,
Yeah.
over the top of it without much trouble.
Right. Or get it so loud that we'd run everybody out of the room.
Yeah,
That's the other
we
thing.
like to think that we make products that keep people in relationships longer, keep them playing in venues longer, able to record later at night.
Yeah,
We try to think
yeah.
that we're helping people out that way.
Right. It's a good service. Justin, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Don.
Man.
So much fun.
Great stuff. Reload 2. Killing, dude. Thanks everybody for watching, and if you have any questions about this or any other Two Notes product, make sure to contact your Sweetwater sales engineer, or you can check us out online at sweetwater.com. Thanks.